grab one. All right, so we're on to 1A.3, the regression model side, okay? This is going to be part 2 of our notes. So you should have picked up a paper. That paper says part 2 on one side and part 3 on the other side, okay? For this part of our notebook, we're going to make a pocket. So don't get too excited yet. We're going to talk about how to make a pocket, okay? Let's see your notebook here. The model with J's. So it's going to be page 8, but we're going to turn this into a pocket before we do anything. So to make a pocket, you're going to take what would have been page 8. We all are going to see me? What would have been page 8. We're going to turn it and we fold it inward. And then you're going to crease. And you're going to make an L glue line at the bottom. You're going to make an L glue line. So I'm going to go, pew, and pew. It's really hard demonstrating gluing something while standing. Pew, pew. Okay, once you make that L glue line, you're going to fold it over, and now you have a pocket for that note. Can someone tell me why we need a pocket for this set of notes? It's front and back, and it's going to be something that you're going to continuously take out of your notebook. Does that make sense? It's going to probably be something you reference back and forth to. So when you fold it, it'll fit perfectly in your pocket. You now can label your pocket so that you know that this is your 1A.3 regression model. But it goes in the pocket like so. And now you have a pocket. Okay, so page 8 now became pocket.
Yeah, me too, but
at the bottom, make it L.
somebody decided.
All right. Yes. Was that terrible? How do you feel about making pockets? Doable. And then now this is page 8 and this is page 9. So this is why I told you don't try and number too far ahead because sometimes you may need a pocket. All right. All right. So there you go. Cool. Put it right on top.
Wait, okay, so this is page 8.
That's your page 8 now. It's a pocket.
The back is page 9.
And the back is everything. Perfect. All right. Yes. Anyone needs me? Are we good? Cool. All right. So page 8 is done. So in page 8 is going to be our regression models part 2 and 3. This is page 8, and we made it into a pocket. Okay. So we can easily take it in and out and use it when we need it. The reason why we need to be able to take it in and out is because it has steps on it. Okay. And you may need to refer back to those steps until they become normal to you. All right. What if I have data but no scatter plot? Oh no, what does that mean? I got to create the scatter plot, right? I have to create the scatter plot, and we're going to create that scatter plot using technology, okay? That is why you were doing the hamburger activity, is to get you used to using the calculator so that when we step into it, it won't be like, oh, this is crazy. All right, so we're starting with method number 1, which is using our TI-84, which you already have on your desk because you had it during your quiz, so you should be good to go. We're going to use this method to go through and analyze this given set of information that we have. Do y'all remember how I talked about popcorn reading? All right, guess what we're about to do? Get to popping. So here we go. I'll start off and then someone continues. The National Weather Service uses a chart to determine the wind chill factor at various speeds. Pop. Pop.
Even if both days have the same air temperature.
Pop.
Air temperature in degrees Fahrenheit and the corresponding wind chill factor, the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit that it feels like for a wind speed of 20 miles per hour.
Pop. Perfect. All right. So this is our given information, and it wants us to determine the equation of the regression line. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is go through the steps of finding the regression model. Okay. We're going to talk about the steps that try to make it a little easier. And so in your paper, so open it side by side. So you should have the problem on one side and the steps on the other side. So the right side is the problem. The left side are our steps. Okay. We're on part 2, so make sure you're not on the part 3 side. Okay. And it says that we're going to reset our calculator. That's the first thing you should always do when you're doing a regression model is reset whatever device you're using. The reason why you want to reset is because you don't know what's been happening on the calculator and what kind of tomfoolery is there. So we're going to reset our calculator by pressing second plus 712, second plus. Okay. Once we press second 12, we're going to go to the stat editor. So we're going to open our stat editor. The stat button is located where? Okay, so you just underneath delete. Your stat button is located underneath delete. So you're going to go to that button. I'm going to pull up my old girl Sylvie. Don't judge her. She is a little old, but she gets the job done. Hey, girl. Gotta wake her up. She has to get her program going and everything. And there she is. Hey. All right. So Sylvie is cleared and ready to go. So now I'm going to do what I told you to do. And again, the stat button is underneath your delete button. You see that bad boy? Delete. Okay. Now that we're here, we're going to go to edit and we're going to input our data. We're going to be using L1 and L2. So I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to input the data into L1 and L2. So we have 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15. That's my L1. And my L2 are going to be my wind chill factors. And we have 30, 24, 17, 11, 4, and -3. Make sure for your negative, you're using the negative down by the decimal, not the minus sign, and hit enter. That's a -2, and no one corrected me. Thanks, guys, for looking out for me. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Are we all good? Everyone has our data in? Oh, okay. Okay. You need to make sure that your data is matched correctly. And that's because the calculator is going to graph them as an ordered pair. So L1, L2, those are your ordered pairs that the calculator algorithm is programmed to say, here we go. All right. Step 5. So I know that on your activity, last time it says you have to click this and turn on. Step 5 is a shortcut of turning on your plot. To turn on your plot, you're going to press Y equals. And then you see where it says plot 1? You just arrow up to plot 1 and hit enter. And notice how it becomes bold. That means your plot is turned on. Okay. Now that I've turned on my plot, I'm going to go to, you know how in your activity it had you go to window, you had to adjust and all that stuff. We're not doing that. We're just going to go to zoom and stat. Why do we go to zoom and stat? Because we're telling the calculator, I only want you to show me my data. Does that make sense? So we're going to press the zoom button. And we're going to scroll down to 9 where it says zoom stat. So I'm going to go down to 9. I either can scroll down to 9 and press enter or just press the number 9. And notice what it does. It automatically adjusts my window to show me my data. Yes? Okay. If you're no, check with the peer. Or rerun through the steps. Okay. Okay, now that's how you create a scatter plot. So looking at our scatter plot, is this a linear correlation? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. Okay, so it's a linear correlation. So that was the first thing that we're verifying, that this is a linear correlation. Agree? So I'm gonna write determine the equation. I'm looking for a positive line. So I'm gonna look for a positive linear. Okay. So how do I find that linear equation? Well, that's the next part that's on your paper. So the next thing we're gonna be is called a regression model. So we're gonna go through the steps of finding the regression model. Okay. So step 1 says you're gonna go to stat 1. So we're gonna go to stat 1 and making sure our data is still the same. Is data still there? Yes. So data is good to go. So stat 1. All right. We're then going to go back to anytime we need to go back to our calculator page, we press second mode and that takes you back to your calculator page. So I'm pressing second mode and that takes me back to my calculator page. Yes. All right. Once here, we're now going to stat, but this time we're going to go to calc because we wanted to calculate our model for us. So we went to stat and we're going to go to calc. And we already determined that this is a what kind of model? Linear. So we're going to look for lin reg. So we're looking for lin reg. We're going to go down here and hit 4. Okay. Bye, Piper. All right. Are we all here? Okay. Now that we're at lin reg, we want to make sure it saves our equation for us. So when you go here to store reg equation, it's going to give you that option. Now, my calculator is old, but it has it now because I updated it. If you press alpha trace, it's going to give you the option to say what Y value do you want to store it as. Okay. If you're on someone's older calculator, they don't have that option. So that's what these steps are by pressing bars, going to 1. But for us, because our calculators are updated, we just have to press the alpha and then the trace button. Okay. And we can press what we want. So we're going to store this as equation number 1. So Y1. And we hit enter and then calculate. So here are the values of my equation. We're going to round to the nearest hundredths unless it tells you otherwise. So on our paper, we're going to write down our equation. So what is our regression line that we have here? Y equals, what's our A? Nearest hundreds means 2 decimal places. So 1.29 X. And what's our B? 21.51. There we go. So there's our regression line. Yes? Okay. Why we store it is so that when you go to graph, guess what? If you store it and you go to graph, it's going to show you and map out that line for you automatically. And you're like, oh, that is a pretty good model. Look at me. I'm a genius. And that is how you do it in the calculator. All right. The goal is after you doing the discovery and the productive struggle over the past couple of days on your own, you're like, oh, does it make more sense now? Are some of your holes or gaps or where you got stuck at, are they been filled a little bit by doing this and seeing the steps? Okay. All right, so let's talk about the paper. Let's fill in what it asked us. So we have our equation. What was my equation again? Y equals minus 2150. There we go. It says, what is the slope of the regression line and what does it mean? So what is my slope? Y slope is 1.29. Okay. When you have slope, what that means, remember, it's your change in your Y over your change in your X. For this problem, air temperature is our X and Y is our wind chill factor. So when I'm describing what's happening, I'm describing the change between these two, right? So we're at 1.29 degrees of wind chill, right? Per, and what's the denominator? Degrees of air or temperature, air temperature, however you want to write it. But as long as you define what is the variable of your numerator per the variable of your denominator is the most basic way of writing a description. So the first part is going to be your numerator description per your denominator description. Okay, so what is our numerator describing here? Degrees of wind chill, right? So this would be 129 degrees of wind chill per, what is this describing? Degree of air temperature. Okay, anytime you're describing the slope, you're saying, based on the slope formula, the numerator describes this per the denominator describes this. Does that make sense? So for example, if I know that if I want to buy 2 fries, they cost $5, right? If I'm finding the change in that, that's $5 per 2 fries, right? Does that make sense? It's always going to be what you're describing. All right. What is the dependent variable axis intercept and what does it mean? So dependent variable axis is just simply asking, what is your y-intercept? It's just a fancy way of saying, what is the y-intercept? So for this problem, based on our regression model, what is our y-intercept? It's going to be what? Out of our equation? What kind of 21.151? Negative. So what does it mean? It means that when it is 0 degrees, when the air temp is 0 degrees Fahrenheit, the wind chill is what? The wind chill is negative 21.51 degrees Fahrenheit. Because remember, your y-intercept is when your x value is 0. And for this problem, our x value describes the what? The what? All right, for this value, our x value describes it's the air temperature. Our x describes our air temperature. All right, the last question I'm gonna let you work, and this is gonna be our starting point. It says, use the equation of the regression line to estimate the wind chill factor for a 32 degree day with a spin, 32 degree Fahrenheit day with a wind speed of 20 miles per hour. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is excess information. This number has no bearing. That's because that's what all of this is based off of, right? So it's telling you you have a wind chill factor of 32 degrees. And it wants to know what is the actual air temperature given that information. That's what you gotta decide. Are they giving you your X or are they giving you your Y? And then solve for the other one. That's what I'm asking you. So talk about it, think about it, and we'll come back.